Hi, welcome to Bonds After Baby. I'm LMFT Evie Empress, and I'm here to help you and your family relationships experience more relief and connection during the stage of pregnancy, postpartum, and early parenthood. Remember to subscribe for my podcast so you can receive support from me on a weekly basis, whether you're in the trenches or just want some more relief and support in your relationships through this stage of life. In today's episode, I'm going to address how stress from political news that we're getting can affect us as moms and affect our couple relationships and our family dynamics during pregnancy and the postpartum stage, where especially, there can be more fragility during this time. And honestly, this is quite applicable for parents of all young kids. I'm going to give some concrete suggestions on how to recognize what's happening in your body, your nervous system within you during times of being exposed to a lot of external stressors, so that you can have some sense of control over how you and your little ones are being affected, and also how you can lean on one another, on your partner or another adult and family member, so it's a little bit easier to show up for your kids. First, I have to start by acknowledging that many families do not have the luxury to choose or control how they absorb information or regulate their nervous systems, because they are literally in a hypervigilant state of survival mode and protection. I mean, there's no words. I find it unbearable that any parent or child ever has to be in a state like that. And regardless of any perspective, my stance is families belong together. If you are in a situation like this where you are in total survival mode, I'm so sorry, and I hope that you are connected or can connect soon with local resources for legal support or mental health services, or both, that can help as much as possible during this time, as well as having community support. This episode is addressing parents out there who are outside of maybe a direct survival mode, but incredibly distressed and concerned for either friends or family members of your community, rattled by the images and information you're receiving, just like rapid fire, whether that's from TV, social media, newspapers, word of mouth, grieving and shock and unsettled. You can face extremely violent images, disturbing images, and turn around and your child's in front of you asking, for the red spoon, not the blue spoon, and screaming about spoons. And it might be harder and harder to stay calm as you are in these kind of two realities at the same time. Or let's say you're pregnant and you're caressing your hand over your belly, wondering how much of the stress you're taking in from what you're seeing and feeling is affecting your baby in utero. Or you may be noticing that you're more irritable with your partner when they may not be seeing things the way you are. Or, you've just been looking at something for an hour and they come upstairs and you're, kind of spitfiring at them because you're deregulated. It's natural to be deregulated by what we're seeing. So look, it's important to understand how stress is affecting us during this time as parents of little ones, and how they get affected. And so I'm going to explain briefly what's happening in our bodies and why. But mostly I'm going to focus on giving concrete tips on how to manage in the healthiest way possible. So let's start with how political stress can affect parents in pregnancy and postpartum specifically. I'm going to make the science pretty simple and straightforward here, okay? So look, dealing with stress is normal. We're not going to avoid stress in our lives. Having to handle stress as a parent is a normal part of family life and an opportunity to get closer with our loved ones, to build trust as we lean on one another, and to model how to do so for our kids. Yes. However, it's really not natural to be in a state where we are this aware, where we have this amount of information getting slammed in our faces, from so many different places in the country and even the world all at once, and constant updates. I'm certainly not suggesting that we close our eyes or that we are not, that we don't want to stay aware of what's going on. However, I would say the pace and the amount is really not natural for how we were wired to be able to take information without going into a state of panic. Okay. So, and political stress is going to land differently too during pregnancy and postpartum, because in this season, look, the brain's already more sensitive to any kind of threat or safety cues. from a neurobiological perspective, like the nervous system is tuned to scan for danger and anything that could impact safety, healthcare access, child's future, and being aware of other people going through that kind of primal fear and survival is incredibly disturbing. I mean, being a parent yourself or walking into parenthood and watching parents go through what they're going through, of course it's going to disturb, I think, on a different level, on a deeper level. Now, political stress is not just mental, it is psychological because chronic exposure to distressing info is going to, look, it's going to activate, it's going to signal on a stress response system. So if you're pregnant or postpartum, first of all, your reserves are depleted. You can get triggered easily anyway or touched. A lot of sensitive places can get touched. Because your nervous system is getting overloaded. So things like, this amount of information coming in is going to overload in a different way. Because the perinatal nervous system has a lower stress threshold. Hormonal shifts, your sleep is likely deprived. I'm sure a lot of moms are nodding right now as I say that. Your identity is changing, roles are changing, you have more demands. So there's less capacity in general. So political stress like this, like what we're seeing here in the States right now, is going to stack onto an already taxed system. So reactions, it's harder to control our reactions, it's harder to regulate. But here we're in a state where we're responsible for little children, and already relationships might be strained just because everybody's exhausted, and this is just adding a lot more stressors at this time, right? So, okay, that's an overview of how we're getting affected because I want to normalize there is a reason, not just because it's distressing in itself, but why it might be feeling, I don't know, other layers of hard. Being available for small children at the same time, wanting to be calm, wanting to be present. And there's just kind of a shock to the system of being present and grounded with your kids, for yourself, for your partner, while being inundated with really disturbing images and information. So I really want to normalize that for you. There's nothing wrong with you, that feels really discombobulating. And unsettling. Okay, so I'm going to get into now like what's not going to help during this time and then what's going to help. So I mentioned this a lot in many different contexts, but this is another one. Avoidance is not going to bring relief. Okay, so avoidance is, I think, what most people's go to as well. I can't change anything, avoid. Well, I saw this distressing info. I'm just going to compartmentalize it. And yes, my son, you can have the red spoon and not the blue spoon or whatever it is. Or I'm just going to shove all this to the side. Look, if you're going to think of it this way. If there's water behind a dam and there's like this, boulder trying to keep this water behind the dam and it's pushing, eventually it's going to just start squirting out. Feelings don't disappear. They're there. So if we're not going to acknowledge them, they're either going to come out sideways, they're going to bring anxiety. If we're not addressing them, reactivity, etc. So avoiding how you're feeling is not going to help. It doesn't calm. Our nervous system doesn't calm through avoidance. It calms through acknowledgement, getting soothed, sharing with others, and I'll get into that more in a minute. I would say also what doesn't help is avoiding sharing, not just avoiding with ourselves, like to acknowledge what's going on in our own bodies and minds and hearts, but also resisting sharing with others. And I see this a lot, whether it's about something that was hurtful with a friend or something hard at work or how you are reacting to political things that you're seeing. For some, for many, there is a hesitancy in saying, hey, this was really hard for me to see, or I'm really worried about our neighbor, or whatever it is, to share that with someone else. There might be an anticipation of like, will they judge me? Will they be dismissive? Will they think I'm overreacting? And if that's going on, I recommend also addressing that there's a fear of bringing something up because it's important to be able to feel comfortable. When you're parenting, you need another adult to be able to hold things with you, to hold stressors with you, because that will make it easier to show up for your kids. I would say don't dismiss and rationalize as well. Well, it's not happening to you. Well, it's so much harder for other people. Yeah, that may be true, that other people are going through worse, but it doesn't mean you're not affected. Again, ignoring what's actually happening in your mind and your body is not going to be helpful. So, what is going to help? Acknowledging reality with yourself, the reality of what you are feeling. So you might be feeling grief, you might be feeling anger towards people in power. You might be, feeling remorse for, I don't know, not being involved in a certain way, or I don't know. I'm not saying that anyone should be, having guilt trips. I'm just saying there might be a range of feelings that come up here. Acknowledge them in yourself, and also acknowledge them with someone, with your partner, with a family member, with a close friend, with someone who can say, yeah, that makes sense. I hear you. And to share also with you, so that you can have that kind of camaraderie, solidarity, so you don't feel alone. That is going to be extremely soothing, right? Feeling like you're holding something on your own, or that you have to hold it on your own, it's going to keep it tangled and tight inside you. Okay. So it's going to be better for you and your little ones if you have a place to share. Okay. I would also say control the type of exposure. Again, I'm not saying to turn everything off and close your eyes. No, there might be periods actually where you're dealing with so much else that you may need to do that. And I'm not going to judge that. There's a lot of people blaring on social media that have a lot of judgments. You have to do this and you're good. You have to do that and you're bad. Look, I mean, this is not the only example that makes it okay, but like if I'm sitting with someone who's just, lost their parent or something and they're about to give birth, no, I'm not going to tell that person that they need to be abreast of everything that's going on in the news. So again, that's one extreme example, but I'm not going to be someone that's sitting here telling you you're obligated. You have to check in with yourself and see what you have the capacity for. Can you read the news once or twice a day, for 10 minutes, take in information because you want to be informed, but maybe not be doom scrolling on Instagram for 3 hours a day, just getting more and more distressed? Is that actually helpful to you or to anyone else? So I would just say definitely control the type of exposure, the amount of exposure, and what is productive to you. Is it productive? Is it a value for you to be informed? If so, how do you want to do that? Is it valuable for you to watch 3 hours of Instagram reels with opinions and with videos? Or would you like to find somewhere to donate, right? And then shut it off, just to help regulate, because again, it's not normal to have this much information constantly inundating us. And I'm not sure how helpful it is also to other people. There's a difference between being informed, and there's a difference between drowning in endless images all day. Raising kids with kindness is a powerful act in itself, and can be enough in this stage of life. If you have time and resources, it does feel good. Sometimes it does help soothe to be a helper in any way. And I'm talking the simplest way, because I have a 2-year-old. This is very recent memory for me of what it is like in pregnancy and postpartum. You're in your own survival, right? And so even a kind word to someone in the community, even that is a powerful act. Even a small donation, if you can manage it, is a powerful act. Again, I'm certainly not on a pulpit here saying, do this, do that, you must do this. Absolutely not. I'm actually just sharing that, research shows that it can actually bring a sense of purpose, and it can counterbalance some of the helplessness that can be really distressing when we're inundated by tough information, tough images all day. To feel like we are part of a force for something good, for something kind, for something helpful, if it's possible. And again, if it's not, raising your child with kindness is a powerful act in this world, and feel good about that. Okay. Again, identify your feelings and share them. The more you avoid in yourself and the more you avoid or compartmentalize someone else, the harder it is to stay regulated when we are caregiving kids, when we want to be regulated for our kids. Okay, we need another adult to validate, and to lean on each other. When we're listening to each other, and when someone's listening to us and we're distressed, and they don't really know what to do or what would be helpful, one thing is just to share, hey, being curious with me, validating me is more helpful than being dismissive or judgmental. So sometimes people might need a really specific cue and to just hear in a direct way, thank you, I know you're trying to help, but actually it would be more helpful if you were just curious or just listened with compassion. Okay. Knowing when to pause, even conversations. Not every conversation has to be had all the time. If a conversation isn't going well and you're already at your limit, it's okay to pause and say, let's come back to this at a time when we have more bandwidth. If there is a commitment to one another to come back to something, if it's not going well, that's okay. It's actually not productive to just keep going down a spiral. Look, relationship support is protective. We can't ever eliminate stress, but we can manage how we process and how we show up for each other during really intense external stressors like political stress. And if you notice that it is incredibly heightened at this time, that you're having ruminating thoughts, that your heart is palpitating more than usual, please let someone in to sit with you in it. Let another adult hold some of this with you. That might be a mental health provider. It might be a partner. It might be someone in your religious community. But know that it is, our nervous systems are totally overloaded. We are not wired for all of this, but support will make it better. While we do need to, I want to mention this too, because I know there's probably moms that are really worried about wanting and making sure they want to protect their kids from stress bleeding out and affecting them. And stress does affect kids, but again, I do want to normalize that kids will be around stress, and that's not as much what to be afraid of. I would say, and it's not great to be consistently rattled day to day. That's why I'm talking about, like, if you are just watching reels all day on Instagram while you're taking care of your little one, you're really stressed out and maxed out, there would be a better way to manage how you're getting information, when you're getting information, and how it's affecting your day to day when you're with your child or when you come home with your child. But look, it is being stressed around our kids, in front of our kids, is okay when we find ways to regulate and when we can seek out help from others to help regulate us too. And that's a wonderful opportunity for soothing for you, for your kids. It's great modeling for them, even when they're super little and nonverbal. These are cues that they're certainly picking up on. Okay, so just want to recap really briefly what's gonna help at this time. Naming your feelings and fears out loud, sharing them, time-limited, intentional absorption of media, of photos and information, rather than a constant input, okay? Grounding the body before and after consuming news. If you have the time, I know with kids that can be hard. Prioritizing sleep, sensory regulation, and relationship connection. Okay. Nervous systems calm in connection. I'm being repetitive on purpose, guys. Okay. Being emotionally seen, being validated, being approached with curiosity is going to really buffer against the anxiety, hopeless thoughts that might be prickling up around this time, because during this stage there is more vulnerability, more hormonal shifts, less sleep, etc. Okay. So definitely with couples or with just adult family members being there for each other, shift into presence. It's more powerful than you think. Just being present with one another, listening for fear and values underneath opinions is helpful. Creating a shared agreement about maybe when and how we broach political topics, and repairing quickly if stress also spills into us getting punchy with each other or reactive. That's okay, but just notice it and try to repair it and just come back together when you can. And checking in, what do I need right now? Can I ask for what I need? It might not be in that moment. Moms don't always, parents don't have the luxury of getting our needs met right when we, would like them to be met, but eventually to have some downtime, even little moments of just a rub on the back. Hey, I get it. This is hard. Even really slight things like that can be incredibly powerful. Okay. Research shows that emotionally supportive partnerships will mostly lower the risk of depressive thoughts, anxiety, and stress when there's all this external instability that is going to make it more intense. So when the, world is feeling uncertain, we stabilize through present moment safety, routines, and really strong relational support. Okay. If you're feeling more reactive or overwhelmed right now, hey, that is not a failure. Listen to me. It's not a failure. It's normal. We are not wired for what's the amount of information we're getting. It's your nervous system naturally responding to real stress during kind of a unique season. Okay, so you don't need to stay calm all the time to protect your well-being or your relationship or your kids, but definitely seek moments of connection with yourself and connection with other adults to help bring a sense of calm as much as possible. And it's okay to lean in to the lovely moments and the sweet moments with your kids, to stay present and grounded with them and for them. And I really hope during this time that this episode was helpful. Please leave me a comment below if you have anything you'd like to share. Subscribe to my podcast so you get notified when there's a new episode. I'll have one next week. I'm here for you and your family. See you next week. Goodbye.